The Scarborough Shoal, a tiny triangle of rocks and reefs in the South China Sea, has once again erupted into the global spotlight. Reports are emerging that China is pushing to turn Scarborough into a so-called marine nature reserve. But Filipinos and military analysts are asking, is this really about protecting fish? Or is Beijing laying the groundwork for militarizing the shoal? Welcome back to GeoFrontline, where we dive deep into the power struggles shaping our world. Today, we're taking you straight into the heart of the West Philippine Sea dispute and asking, is Scarborough Shoal about to become the next flashpoint in Asia? For millions of Filipinos, Scarborough Shoal isn't just a distant reef. It's a symbol of sovereignty, pride, and survival. Filipino fishermen have depended on these waters for generations. But since China seized effective control in 2012, these fishermen have been harassed, chased away, and blocked from their traditional fishing grounds. Now, China's talk of creating a marine protected area sounds less like conservation and more like consolidation, locking Filipinos out of their own backyard under the excuse of environmental protection. The timing is crucial. Scarborough Shoal sits just 120 nautical miles from Zambales in Luzon, well within the Philippines' exclusive economic zone. Its location is strategic, almost like an unsinkable aircraft carrier. Whoever controls Scarborough gains a massive advantage in projecting power deep into Southeast Asia. And it places China right on the doorstep of Manila's capital region. So when Beijing claims it wants to protect Scarborough's coral reefs, experts can't help but see a different agenda: building legitimacy for permanent control. After all, we've seen this playbook before. China said similar things in the Spratly Islands. Then suddenly, sandbars turned into massive artificial islands, bristling with runways, radars, and missile systems. The so-called green projects became gray war machines. And now, the same tactic seems to be unfolding at Scarborough. Filipinos are not staying silent. The Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces of the Philippines has already warned that China's move is unacceptable and could violate Philippine sovereignty. Leaders are raising alarm bells, not only in Manila, but in Washington, Tokyo, Canberra, and across ASEAN. Because if Scarborough falls fully into China's grip, the balance of power in the South China Sea tilts heavily in Beijing's favor. And let's be clear, this isn't just about reefs and fish. Scarborough could be militarized into a forward outpost that threatens U.S. forces in the Pacific. Endangers sea lanes carrying trillions of dollars in global trade and encircles the Philippines. In any crisis, missiles stationed at Scarborough could reach major Philippine cities in minutes. That's why analysts call it a potential choke point in Asia. But here's where the story takes an emotional turn. For years, Filipino fishermen have shared heartbreaking stories of being blasted with water cannons by Chinese Coast Guard ships or chased away by armed militia vessels. These are not just statistics. They are fathers, sons, and entire communities robbed of their livelihood. And now, if Scarborough becomes a reserve, it's the final nail. Filipino fishermen banned from their own waters while Chinese vessels patrol under the flag of environmental protection. The Philippines is not standing alone. Under President Donald Trump, the U.S. has doubled down on its commitment to the Philippines as a treaty ally. American forces have increased patrols in the South China Sea, sailing warships near Scarborough to send a direct message: freedom of navigation will not be surrendered. Japan and Australia, too, have stepped up military cooperation with Manila, offering ships, planes, and training. This is more than symbolic. It signals that any attempt by China to fortify Scarborough will draw international backlash. Yet, the challenge remains daunting. China has unmatched resources, a navy that dwarfs the Philippine fleet, and a willingness to push boundaries until others push back harder. The question is, will Manila, with support from allies, draw a red line at Scarborough? Or will Beijing's green mask of conservation slowly transform into concrete, radar towers, and missile launchers while the world hesitates? What's at stake is not just one shoal. It's the future of Philippine sovereignty, the rights of its fishermen, and the credibility of international law. Remember, in 2016, the Permanent Court of Arbitration ruled in favor of the Philippines, declaring China's 9-line claims invalid. But Beijing ignored it. If Scarborough is militarized, it's not just the Philippines that loses. The entire international system takes a hit. And here's the deeper truth. For many Filipinos, this is about dignity. The sight of Chinese ships barring entry to Scarborough cuts deep. It reminds us of how bigger nations have bullied smaller ones throughout history. But it also fuels a fire, a determination to defend what is ours, no matter how long it takes. That's why the modernization of the armed forces of the Philippines is no longer just a budget line. It's a national mission. New missiles, radars, aircraft, and naval platforms are being rolled out, with U.S. and allied support, precisely to ensure that places like Scarborough are not abandoned. China calls Scarborough a shared area. Filipinos call it part of our home. And homes are not surrendered. They are defended. So where does this lead? One possibility is escalation, as Filipino patrols U.S. warships and Chinese vessels all converge. The shoal could become a flashpoint for confrontation. Another possibility is deterrence, that by raising the alarm now, the Philippines and its allies prevent Beijing from repeating the Spratly Islands scenario. The outcome will depend on resolve. For now, the world is watching. Every move at Scarborough sends ripples across Asia. Every fisherman turned away. Every patrol intercepted. Every reserve announcement tests the limits of international patience. And the Filipino people know this. We cannot afford silence. Scarborough Shoal is more than rocks and reefs. It is a line in the sea, a line that says the Philippines will not be erased from its own waters. And with the backing of allies, it is a line that can be held. This is not the end of the story. This is the beginning of a larger struggle over freedom, sovereignty, and survival in the West Philippine Sea. And Filipinos, as history has proven, never back down when their nation is on the line. Because Scarborough is not just a shoal. It is a test of courage. And courage, once awakened, is more powerful than any fleet. This is Geo Frontline. Thank you for watching. And stay tuned as we continue to uncover the truth behind the battles shaping our world.